Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this panel discussion today. Our focus is asking the employer from the agriculture and food industries. We have panelists here from field to fork to share their insights. We're happy to have this group today, and I'm Catherine Doan, and I will be the moderator for today's panel. We're very much looking forward to today's discussion. And today's session will be recorded for utilizing as a resource in the future. So with support from the provincial and federal governments, as well as a partnership with the OFA, agcareers.com and careersandfood.com, we have launched Feeding Your Future initiative. This program delivers on 4 essential areas for farmers, agribusiness, and food, employers as well as job seekers, to assist them with navigating the employment market that has been affected by COVID-19. We have offered a concierge service for job seekers, employers, virtual career fairs, as well as webinars like today's session. So we're keeping you up to date on the changing trends that are developing in the food and agriculture industries and as it affects employment. So we're really pleased to have with us today Christine Schoonderwoerd. She's assistant manager from the ruminant division at Wallenstein Feeds, Jodi Roelands of Roelands Plants Farms, who is a owner and operator. So Jodi is just on the next slide here. Excellent. And then Julie Salonin, who is the HR manager from Cisco Southwestern Ontario, and Teresa van Raay, who is a farmer and business owner. And we're really excited to have this group of individuals that are a dynamic group to share with us their stories. We have their bios here that obviously you can flip back from, but I think we'll just get started in essence of time today, and nothing better than hearing from each of you as individuals. So if you don't mind, I'll get started by welcoming you. Thank you for taking the time because each of you are very busy individuals. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank
you.
Excellent. So I think we'll start off. Just each of you, if you can introduce yourself in 2 minutes, talk about your business, your role in getting food to the consumer. So what is your role, and what part are you contributing to in the full value chain? So I think we'll start off, if you don't mind, with you, Teresa.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, no pressure. So a little bit, just in my bio there, it talks about us working for 38 years with our family farm. And we started out with growing pigs. And then we've now graduated to growing garlic and packaging it here. So my role is a multitude. It depends on the morning, the day. In order to get our product to the consumer, we've also opened a store on our farm. So we sell our pork. It's a small part of the business, but the cool thing is we connect with the consumer that way, and that has really opened my eyes to what we are missing with connecting that way, and then that helps me to sell to the consumer. One of the other things that, and I noticed with Julie here being with Cisco, we're working with the whole value chain, as you will see throughout this whole conversation, how we are very different, but we are all so connected that we need each other. So that's one of the little points there. Yeah, that's good.
Great. Oh, that's a perfect synopsis. It's hardly fair to only give you 2 minutes, but that's it introduces us just quickly. So Christine, I'll go to you next.
Okay, so my name is Christine Schoonderwoerd, and I'm the assistant manager of the ruminant division at Wallenstein Feed. So ruminants, for those of you outside of agriculture, would mean things, species like dairy cows, beef cows, sheep, goats. So I'm part of the division that offers nutrition and advice to farmers in that area of agriculture. So Wallenstein Feed is a very large independently owned feed mill based out of Wallenstein, Ontario. On more of a personal note, I farm with my husband and 4 children near Stratford, Ontario. So we have a small farm where we grow beef, apples and grain.
Excellent. I can already see how this is going to be a very good conversation. So Jodi, I'll move to you next.
Yes, thank you. So I am the owner of Roelands Plant Farms. So we are greenhouse-based agriculture, and the main bulk of our business is business to business. So we propagate, we custom grow and wholesale seedlings. So we have customers who are other greenhouses, vegetable growers who they order their initial plants from us. So we grow peppers, tomatoes, and cucumbers, the majority of our plants. They're custom grown and we ship them to greenhouses. About 80% of what we sell goes to Leamington, Ontario. If any of you are familiar with that area, it's very an intense greenhouse area. And so then our customers go on and grow the peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers. There's some other products too, more and more every year that they're growing in greenhouses. And that's what you would see in the grocery stores. A large percentage of that is sold into the US. We also have some side projects in our greenhouse that we're always, experimenting with new things to fill our off seasons and our slow spots. So one thing we're really excited about right now that actually got a bit of a bump during COVID was we have a small brand called Plantables that we're selling to direct consumer online, which is garden plants. We're mailing garden plants to people. So that's been quite exciting. And as you can imagine, through the pandemic, that got it was very popular in the spring and got quite a bump. So we're excited about that new endeavor as well.
Hey, excellent. I just made a note there because that's part of the question I have for you a little bit later, Jodi. So that was a good lead in. Thank you. So Julie, can you share just the same from your perspective?
Sure. So I'm Julie Salonin. I'm the HR manager for Cisco, the Southwestern Ontario location, which is in Woodstock, Ontario. We're a 400,000 square foot store distribution center. So most of the panelists are more close to the farm side of this. I'm closer to the fork side of this industry. So we supply food to anyone where food is prepared outside of the home. So, I mean, obviously to restaurants, large chains, but we also supply to prisons, hospitals, educational facilities. Again, anywhere food is prepared outside of the home. So we have quite a vast, we have probably about 13,000 SKUs just in our location alone. And we get our products from vendors, such as potentially Teresa or Jodi's location. We get all of our food. We try to source local as well to be able to offer those to our customers. Anything you can imagine as far as ingredients, food prep, paper products, anything like that a restaurant or a hotel or hospital might need. And so we partner very strongly with our vendors, and then we also partner with our clients. So we take those products and then we fulfill the orders to anybody who wants to purchase the food from us. So our mission is to be our customers' most valued and trusted business partner, because if their restaurants or locations are successful, then so are we. So it's a wonderful partnership, as well as the vendors partnership as well.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I always say how collaboration across the board is so important. I can see just within your component how you feel the same with some of the things that you articulated there. So that will be great. We'll come back to that. So I guess I'll flip back just a minute here, because as you noted, Julie, a lot of our panelists here are from kind of different parts along the value chain. So we'll start with you, Christine, just on the respect of, you obviously work in the agri-food industry in a business. As you mentioned, Wallenstein Feeds is very significant feed mill. So what is it that drew you into the agri-food industry, and what motivates you to continue to work in the agri-food industry?
So I actually grew up on a farm. I grew up on a small farm outside of Mitchell, and maybe like a lot of farm kids, I don't think I appreciated it for what it was. I was pretty disinterested in the farm growing up. I wasn't involved at all. And moving into high school, potentially, I was less interested in high school, and I saw a really interesting job ad that caught my attention for some reason, and that was to drive straight truck for a local livestock hauling company. So I thought, you know what, I really want to haul baby pigs. So I got my DZ license and I started to do that at 17 years old. And it was really that experience that made me love agriculture. Going to farms, picking up pigs, delivering pigs. I realized then I loved working with farmers. So that feeling is still at the core of it with working here at Wallenstein Feed. Our tagline here is feeding success, which means helping customers succeed, putting their operations first. And that mindset is really important to me and keeps me driven and motivated.
I can relate to some of, not the truck driving side of things, but the growing up on a farm, but not necessarily feeling that that was going to be your future, but having that connection along your path is what obviously intrigued you to actually enter and grow into the role that you are in today. So that's interesting. So Jodi, I'm going to go to you on the next question. Just looking at if somebody is interested in a job in agriculture or food, I guess, but has no experience, no connection, how would you recommend they get started?
Well, I'd say that although people who aren't familiar with the industry may be scared off by not having a background in it, I would say that it's not really that important in a lot of positions to have that background. I would say most of our employees, and it's seasonal, but we have about 120 typically. 95% of them don't have a background in agriculture. So that's entirely fine. And we don't hire for that necessarily because I don't think we could find that many people if we needed to. For us, we look for what any employer looks like inside or outside of the industry. We want to have someone who that can work as a part of a team, but also obviously independently when needed. We really hire for personality over skill. We want someone that's going to fit with our company culture, fit with our other team members, so that they're going to all jive together. And the skill we can teach later, right? That can always come along. And especially in our industry, we're very niche. There's actually not very many people. We're called a propagation greenhouse. And if there's only, I think, 4 in Ontario and 6 in Canada. So trying to find anyone who knows much about that industry is fairly difficult. So we have to hire for personality and to teach the skill later.
Okay. Very
And I can add a bit to that, Catherine.
Absolutely. That's good.
When
You're the next question.
Oh,
That's good.
The whole, oh my goodness, now I forgot my thought there. Oh my goodness.
Nope,
You asked me another question, I'll go on. I was going to say the hiring for personality, what Jodi was saying. There's just so much on the farm that to do that everybody can at any skill level if you are interested in working with people, there's HR, right? If you like to work with animals, there's the labor at the beginning. If you love to manage, there's all of managing people, whether you're managing people in a barn, in a propagation plant, or in a greenhouse, or in our plant with the garlic, it's the same skills.
Okay, good.
Or same skills, opportunity.
I was going to ask you about transferable skills that you recommend. That was the next question, which was perfect. So let's be more specific on that. Is there, if you had to identify, here are the 4 skills that you really feel are key? Fine. Jodi mentioned personality, that can be interpreted in different way depending on the culture of the business or the farm. What, from your perspective, are kind of those top 4 transferable skills for people to have no matter their background?
The ability to change by the minute. And I'm speaking more so on our farm here. One of the things that we offer is diversity, which can be intimidating to some people because they want, I know that I'm coming in today and I'm going to be doing this job on our farm, and on anybody can attribute when you're on a farm, the best laid plans don't always work out. So the ability to be able to just dig in and do what's needed at the time. So, and no job is too big or no job is too small. And I do find that in our place, everybody kind of does everything or is able to do everything. And so that ability to look around and see what is needed and just go for it. That kind of thing really is very, very helpful with the other. The other thing is to be happy around. That's a big deal. And I so am on to Jodi's page that in the spring and the fall in the farm, sometimes people are not that happy, and it it's so much of a joy to have an employee that, just kind of reminds us how it's important to just smile and to have that personality sort of thing. Also to be aware of your surroundings. Now, if you don't come from a farming background, there's some things on the farm that are very dangerous and you're not aware of it. So just to use the critical thinking part of your brain at all times, that that you are able to look at a situation and know, hey, I shouldn't go near that PTO shaft. And I don't know how we can teach that other than just to be aware of your surroundings and to think before you leave, that kind of stuff.
Right. So really communication, listening, those components are probably an area that you would highlight, because that all comes from being able to understand the information that's being communicated, and understanding the level of severity of how important safety is kind of what I'm hearing you say. Okay.
And as you said, the listening, also the asking.
Right.
Make sure don't ever be afraid to ask a question if you don't understand, because we assume, a lot of times we assume people know things, and we need to be reminded that we have to teach it again and again, and that is okay. That is okay.
Okay. That's good. Julie, I'm going to flip to you now, because I'm going to guess that some of the things that are being said are very similar in your
yes.
So let's talk about some of the roles that you have the biggest challenge recruiting for. And I guess, why are the staff in these positions in such high demand? So help us understand kind of your area of the value chain.
Absolutely. No, when Teresa and Jodi were both speaking about it, I thought that I had that in my head as well. Like for our hiring needs, you've got to be resourceful. You've got to show that you can find answers on your own, that you don't need your hand held all the time. And you also have to be agile, because in the food industry, sounds the same as agriculture, farming, things are changing. We have Cisco is an acronym for See Your Situation Change Often.
I like that.
It's definitely transferable.
Say that again. I bet you a lot of our listeners didn't know that. Say that one more time.
It's a running joke inside.
Yes.
An acronym for See Your Situation Change Often.
Okay.
I love it.
I think we all could.
Yeah, it's the so in regards to the biggest the toughest roles to fill, for us it's actually on either end of the spectrum. So we have obviously a large distribution center, so it's mostly warehouse positions that we find. It's a lot of manual labor, physical, you're doing a lot of repetitive lifting and that sort of thing. And then on the other side of it is our sales team. I come from other industries where we had sales folks. And when I was recruiting for those positions, very much like the other panelists, fit and personality are a lot more important than necessarily skills, because I can teach you skills, but if you don't have the right approach, personality, that's not something that's easy to teach. So I would rather have that personality, that skill, that drive, all of those things than necessarily the skills. And so any other sales positions that I had ever recruited for, really that's what I was focused on. And it really didn't matter what you sold before, because we can teach you that. Food is a little different. We definitely do find an advantage from people who know the food industry, because again, I'm coming from other industries. I don't know the 85 different cuts of meat that you can buy. So if you're a sales rep going out to restaurants, you really need to be able to grasp all of the different, we have 14,000 SKUs in our distribution center. You don't need to know every single one intimately, but definitely having some of that background knowledge is very important when it comes to the sales side. But in our industry, we have such a wide variety. We have people who have never been in food and people who are chefs and now are deciding they don't want to work those long hours, so they want to come and work for Cisco, and they have that knowledge. So it varies as far as those skills and the different requirements that we need for those positions.
So it's interesting, because often I think in our agriculture and food industries, food processing, manufacturing, beverage, depending on what area, we like to separate ourselves to pretend like we're really unique on what we need. But what I just heard there across the board here is the ability to listen, the ability to learn, the want to learn, and kind of the personality comes with the team approach, whether you can get along with others, be able to follow instructions. Is that fair that across the board we are kind of seeking the same thing? Okay,
Definitely.
interesting. So let's go to you, Jodi, because I will say I did get a recommendation to have you on this panel, and I checked out your website, and I was really impressed because it made me want to work for your company because it was so clean, friendly. It obviously showed a culture of diversity and inclusion, and to me, somebody that, you know, I like to pretend I'm young still, that was attractive to me. So let's talk a little bit about workplace culture and how important that is, because that's just something that really struck me as you were trying to convey that through your website. So let's talk about that in your actual operation. What is your, I guess, philosophy on workplace culture?
Oh yeah, great question. So for us, culture is everything. When we started our company, my husband and I started the company almost 7 years ago. That was one of our goals, that we were going to have a company culture that made it a really enjoyable workplace to be in. And you know, for us, we are in it every day. We used to live right in the same building where the greenhouse is. We lived in the warehouse. So like having that culture just personally was really important, but also for employees. And it's funny you bring up the website that has, I think, we have gotten a lot of employees through that, people who find it and then comment on it. And then, like you said, they get the sense they really want to come. So that was all part of it. That was very intentionally done. It is really fun. I have a lot of fun writing our team bios and use vegetable puns profusely. And I love doing that. And then when it comes to when they're when someone's working for us as well, that culture continues. And I think that we, you know, obviously we have turnover. It is, as I think Julie pointed out, we have a wide range of jobs. Some are more manual labor, some are more an intellectual job. So we have turnover, but I mean, the culture, I think, has helped us retain people and it has kept people engaged and really excited about our company. We have, I think that a lot of once people are in too, that helps you with retention and it helps you with recruitment, because a lot of the people that we've had, people who apply know somebody who's worked for us or have heard about us through Facebook posts. We have employees who share our job postings because they're so excited about our company. They say, guys, you guys have to apply for this job. This is where I work. It's really great. Everybody's awesome to work with. You need to apply for this job. So it has been really valuable to create that culture. And we try to perpetuate it everywhere we can. I mean, and sometimes actually it's sort of gone beyond me. I used to be the one who would start these things. I'd make sure that we had a potluck lunch, and I'd make sure that we had really cool gifts at Christmas. And sometimes though, now I'll go over there on like a Friday and I realize all of a sudden they organize like everywhere wear plaid day for fun. And I didn't plan that, and they did it themselves. And stuff like that happens. It's sort of like snowballed and now everybody's involved and I was really excited about it. So I think company culture is really more important than you think. And how you treat your employees and how they treat each other it's a really intangible thing that you can't really quantify and you can't really put a price on, but it is exceedingly important when it comes to retention and job satisfaction.
Right. So what you're saying is no matter what role you are in, the onus is on the employer to create and do those things, no matter how big or small they are, to create that culture. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'd say the onus starts with the employer, but as a master delegator and a believer in non-micromanaging people, I think that it starts with you, but then you have to hire for people to fit that. So back to our previous conversation, we like to hire people who fit into that culture. And now it's sort of a little bit out of my hands, and that's awesome because our culture perpetuates itself and I don't have to work very hard at it anymore. So.
Okay, this is great. I love this because I hired 7 summer interns this summer. And that was the number one thing that was important to them was the company culture and knowing kind of how they would be treated. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Christine, if you don't mind, let's talk about your company culture and how it affects retention.
Yeah, so Wallenstein Feed is a good example of a company that has had the opportunity for the culture to change dramatically. Since I've been at this company for 11 years, it's grown, I believe, from 100 employees to now 240. So, you know, as things get larger, obviously, it's hard to ensure the people you're onboarding, that the culture stays relatively similar and remains the company that people want to be a part of. So I would say like it's a lot in the little things, the nuances. We came up with a more formal culture policy a few years ago, and it's called SMILE. It's about service, modesty, innovation, leadership, and engagement. And all of those titles have, you know, a whole host of things that we describe to new employees to make sure that this is a team they truly want to be a part of and that they can contribute to our culture. And I guess what I meant about it's in the little things like the nuances, it's like what Jodi said, like we still try to do the sort of family, small business types of things. Like we do the potlucks, we do the wedding showers, we do all those things that you would expect from a small business. And then we hopefully have some of the sophistication of a larger business, but the heart of a small one.
Okay, no, that's great. Thank you. I love that. The acronyms are coming out today.
Yeah. Agriculture is famous for their acronyms.
Yeah, exactly. So Teresa and Julie, I'm going to go to both of you because I think one of the things that sometimes gets forgotten or perhaps not articulated well is the onboarding process. So share with me what kind of an onboarding process you have and what components of company culture, retention, you know, training, what is part of your training and onboarding of new staff? How do you break that down? What is your approach?
Sure.
Go ahead, Julie.
Okay, I'll go first. So we have a pretty regimented onboarding. I mean, it obviously depends on the role. Some are more intensive than others. Obviously, there is a very large component to do with health and safety. We have health and safety training, being in a warehouse environment, the equipment, we have forklifts, we have, you know, quad pallet jacks, trucks, loading docks, those sorts of things. Health and safety is huge. We also do food safety because we're storing products. So, you know, proper conditions, temperatures, how it's being delivered in and out. That's very important because, you know, if we're not handling that correctly, then that can contaminate somebody potentially getting sick in a restaurant. So definitely a huge portion of that. Warehouse, it's all hands-on training on equipment. They job shadow with other folks all the time. It's very, the culture is very important. And just like everybody else has said, when you know you've done a pretty good job with the culture is when every once in a while, when you get that kind of bad attitude come in, the warehouse kind of flushes it right out. Those folks flush it right out. They're not having it. They're quite a proud team. They do take a lot of pride in what they do. So it is very important for us to involve the new hires with those. So we rotate them around to meet all the different people in the warehouse. We have even though it's a large company, we do the potlucks and that sort of thing as well to try and keep the engagement up. We always are looking for feedback from our associates. What can we do to make your job easier or more efficient? Like they come up with ideas all the time and we listen. Like I think that's a big deal. On the sales side of things, we have an intensive 2-week training that they go off to in Toronto or wherever it happens to be. And they are bombarded with product knowledge. So we have all of our vendors that come in. We do some sales training as well to refresh them. In order for us to be successful, we have to start them off on the right path and we have to equip those associates to be successful. There's too often that in a company, people come into a role and the employer just says, okay, go do it.
Right.
In 3 months, you're not doing well, see you later. And that's not how it goes. Like you have the obligation as an employer to support your people. And if they're not successful, that's on you for the most part. I mean, we try to equip everybody. We check in with our new associates every 30 days. How's it going? What do you need? How's your training? Do you feel like you need more in this? Do you need more in that? Like just constant communication in order for them to be successful. That to me is the key to retaining and having a successful team.
Okay, great. How about you, Teresa? How does your onboarding process differ, or how is it the same?
Um, all of the above and very different. So we before we started the garlic, we just had the pigs in the barn, and we did the field work. Since we did the garlic, now we're DAP certified. So you have to go through a lot of certifications, and there's a lot of policies written to prove to the grocery stores that you are taking care of your employees, that you do have the safety things in place. So we do what Julie does, but not as formal. We are sometimes, Julie, I feel like I'm that person that says, go do it. But then you go down, and we do try and talk all the time with them. And now we're smaller. So there is 5 family members that work on the farm. So, and we're working with the employees all the time as well. So I think our onboarding is having Martin on the line, picking the bad garlic and showing them how to do it, and standing properly on the fatigue mats, and making sure their hearing protections are in, and masks are on, and all this sort of stuff. So, and I have to say this year has been more than challenging with the COVID work, because we've been working with a farm team out of London, and they're pretty awesome. Like, not like with Jodi, I think you have you hire your people, right? You work with, yeah. So our people go to different farms as well. But we've tried really hard to have the same people, because when we have to train them daily on a different skill, it's not very efficient to do that. But we like to keep people safe. In the barn, it's a lot more easier, because we've got a lot of procedures, and it's very routine. So then we can keep that up. But we do like to have the constant contact with our people, and we're able to do that because we're smaller, I think, and we're there working with them. But we can certainly improve on that, and that's why I like them when employees ask questions.
Sure. So you can understand the hot points and areas of improvement that you have, because
Totally.
I always call it my blind spots. I don't, I know I have them, but unless I have a supported team around me that can point them out, it's hard to improve on your blind spots. So no, that's good. And you've kind of led me into the next question, Teresa, which I appreciate, which is for you, Jodi. Just looking at how COVID, or this pandemic, has impacted your ability to hire staff and team members. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Because we're essential, we've been operating all the way through, obviously.
Yes.
So we haven't had any, we did have some changes in people working from home where they could, and things like that. I would say that the biggest effect for us with COVID and hiring was that we do use foreign temporary workers. We have staff members that come from Guatemala and from Mexico. And so that has been a bit of a challenge. Obviously, for a while there, people couldn't come in. Also, we had some that couldn't go home. So we had a couple gentlemen from Guatemala who were scheduled to go home and couldn't leave because, their country wasn't allowing people in for a while. So it was dicey. And actually, I don't do all that paperwork, so I can't speak all the details to it. Our HR manager does that. But getting people in for our busy season is coming up for the winter. We've had to, I believe she's just had to make sure well in advance that we have all of our planning done, because there's going to be no extra people in a last minute to try to get, you can't really do a last minute, you can't get foreign temporary workers last minute anyway, but she's definitely had to do more and in advance. A little bit as to, I think what Teresa was referring to, is that we have in the past used contract workers for peak days. We brought in crews of people who aren't our employees. We hire the company to come in and bring the employees. It's not our most preferred way of doing it, obviously, because it's difficult with safety training and the culture. It's not a preferred way, but it is sometimes necessary. This year, however, we have decided we absolutely can't do that. Because of COVID, right? So it's just not going to be a good idea to bring in, 10 or 20 extra people into our facility well, we don't know where they've been. We haven't been able to train them. It's just not happening this year. So for the first time since we've started, we're not going to do that. And we're going to rely strictly on our foreign temporary workers. And we have to make sure that they're here well in advance and it's planned out, which has meant more housing. It has meant trying to make sure that trying to space people out within the existing housing we have. So we've had to be really resourceful in finding good space for our team members in other houses. So it's been quite a lot of work for our HR manager and for us to safely do that on our foreign temporary worker side. I think we have a good plan now. I'm pretty confident that they've got it all, that it's all organized. When it comes to our local, we call them local staff, meaning residents of Canada, it hasn't affected us too much. I mean, early days we weren't doing any hiring, and then it was awkward doing interviewing, even just bringing them in and making sure we had the space where we could safely interview. Just really practical logistical things like that have been a challenge.
Sure.
And definitely it has taken a lot of problem solving and innovation on behalf of our team members. We also often rely on consultants or mechanics from the Netherlands. It's where a lot of the greenhouse technology comes from. So we actually haven't had anybody no one's been able to come obviously from the Netherlands. So we've got, we've had to rely on a lot of technology to maintain those relationships and keep things running. So just much like this Zoom call, we've been doing lots of things like that as well.
Right. No, that's great. Thank you. I think that helps people have an understanding of the complexities of just trying to get your product, from your business out to your customers.
Yes.
No easy task. So
Really not.
I appreciate that. And I think that I'm going to go to you here, Julie, with kind of a similar question, because I think it's important for people to understand just how has your business changed as a result of COVID, especially, recruiting for certain positions, or just tell us from your perspective.
Well, definitely. Similarly, we haven't, obviously when it first hit in March, we didn't have any recruiting happening at all. And our business did take quite a hit with the restaurants being shut down. So we definitely had to pivot our business to be a little more agile. Sysco never used to provide food to the consumer. It was always just to restaurants or food service. So with that, we had to change and now offer food directly to consumer through Sysco at Home. So with changing and being able to pivot, we were able to kind of maintain some of that business that we lost through the restaurant closures. With that, we've started recruiting again, thankfully, doing everything through Zoom with distance, training, making sure that, for those folks we're buying, hiring buyers, we have to ship the laptops to them now. They can't come to pick it up because everybody's working from home unless you're in the warehouse. And obviously that's not a position you can work from home if you have to pick the orders. But everybody else is working from home. So now we've had to completely redesign our onboarding and training. The recruitment I have found, definitely the candidate pool is larger right now because there's so many people looking for work, unfortunately, which is disappointing. So that's actually been a bit helpful with people who are looking for some work that have food service experience or whatever potentially the role is. But changing the whole process of interviewing through Zoom is definitely new. And, depending on what's happening with the business and how it's really put a focus on your manpower planning. I mean, we used to be able to plan in advance how much manpower we would need. And now you think, but as soon as another wave hits and they shut it down, I mean, you really don't want to be overstaffed, but then you don't want to be so that you're laying people off if something happens again, but you also can't be understaffed. You've got to really find that balance during this time. You're really being specific when you drill down reports and numbers to find out if your staffing is accurate, staffing levels are accurate.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to that because I heard that we actually have an opportunity in our full value chain to recruit more people and get them interested. But we do have a question. Well, we have 5 questions. Connor's just reminded me to pay attention to that are coming in. So I'm going to go off a little bit here. And the one question is, do you feel that the current education systems support career opportunities as a choice? And if no, how do you feel we should be better promoting our career opportunities? Anybody want to jump on that one first?
I'll
Go ahead,
answer
ahead,
part
Christine.
of it.
Part-
You know, I'm not in school, obviously, so I'm not sure I know sort of how things are being promoted within, but I do think inside of agriculture, organizations like AgScape, Ag Careers, like even commodity groups like Grain Farmers of Ontario, DFO, things like that, they're doing a really good job of getting into classrooms and trying to teach students directly of some of the neat things happening in agriculture, including careers. So I think that's great.
Okay, great. I would not be the right position to not promote AgScape, because I agree with you. I think it's a excellent organization that is in the classrooms and providing very good methods of connecting students with how their food is grown. So I think that's great. Anybody else want to touch on that from the education systems? Are we hitting the mark with supporting and connecting individuals to our careers, or should there be an evaluation of what's being offered? Jodi, do you want to hop in?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's been a long time since I was in the education system myself, and so from what I see in promotion of agriculture, I think that the industry, lots of different groups within the agriculture industry do a really good job of promoting themselves as a product. You know, we see that in the dairy industry, with the greenhouse sector does it quite well. They have a lot of promotion of their products. But I would say I don't see a lot of promotion of the jobs. And I'm not talking specifically in the education system, I'm just talking broader. I don't see a lot of promotion of that. And maybe that's an opportunity where it could be more broadly promoted to people that just as they promote the product. Within the agricultural or within the school system, in my experience, I didn't see a lot of it. I went to Western, however, though I did not study agriculture. Most people there had no idea. I think they think that a job in agriculture means like your cows and your chickens in your barns. That was my experience when I was there. People, unless they're already in the industry, they do not know anything about it. They don't know that there's an opportunity there. I guess on my husband's perspective, he went to Guelph and took agriculture. So obviously everybody there already knew all about it. And I think there was a lot of promotion at Guelph of jobs that were available. I think that would be an entirely different experience at Guelph than it would be at Western. So that's just in my experience. I think that if you are in an education, in a spot where agriculture is being taught, then definitely there would be a lot of awareness of the job. So if you're not in a location where that's being taught, then I don't think there's any, and there's probably a lot of potential there.
Yeah,
sure. So I always call this our headlines. We're not very good in the food and agriculture industry with our headlines. We focus on the negative often, which don't get me wrong, we need to discuss the hard issues, but do we talk about the fact that you can be a flavorist in the food industry to at least tweak interest? We do focus in on the first step, the primary production, but as we know, there's, I think, 289 different career profiles that people can look up and have an understanding, whether it's in the food industry or agriculture or packaging. So I guess, Julie, from your perspective, you had said you're from the automotive industry. What's our opportunity here? Because this kind of stems from the education side of things. What's our opportunity here, no matter where we are in the system and the value chain?
Is opportunity as far as I think that for us, we've noticed a difference trying to put ourselves into the schools. So partnering with local schools like Fanshawe, London, and that sort of thing, maybe bringing more awareness from us to the classroom to be able to show the broad level. I mean, we every year, with the exception of this year, sadly, we participate in the Take Your Kids to Work Day. So all the grade 9 students come in and really try to show them all of the different career opportunities. I mean, speaking only for Cisco myself, I mean,
Sure.
everywhere from from warehouse positions, finance positions, merchandising positions, buyers, sales positions, administrative, like pretty much there's such a wide scope of opportunities. We have chefs on staff, so we have a whole culinary team as well. So pretty much any aspect that you're interested in, you could potentially fit into our business model. I think for us, it's going out there. For our sales team, we go and do this Great Canadian Sales Competition through universities and colleges where we participate and they do a sales pitch. So they'll potentially work for Cisco and pretend to do a sales pitch for Cisco, and we don't judge it. We're just part of it. But trying to get in those educational facilities in any way we can to really promote our brand and what we do, so that when people think of where they want to work in their future, Cisco might be on that list. If they see the job posting and they recognize our name, you know, that sort of thing. And even in trades, I found, so coming from automotive, I know it's not food, but I really find that they're not promoting trades as much as they should. I had such a hard time recruiting for technicians, and we have fleet technicians as well in Cisco. And those are really hard to fill positions. It's not specific to food, but you know, with everybody shifting more towards the business side of things and, you know, potential finance, I feel like we're really lacking in those hands-on roles where we need people who can, like Jodi, you were saying, your greenhouse experts from the Netherlands. I mean, we need people who can fix machines and who can fix technology and those sorts of things. And it's really transferable across any industry. You could work for automotive, you could work for Cisco, you could work for farm equipment. You know, those sorts of roles I feel like are really struggling right now, at least for our industry.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Teresa, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I was going to say it's I don't understand the misinformation that's in the high schools and our inability to get in. Like, I am also on the board with Catherine on the Agscape. And when you hear the stories of some of the things that are being taught in the classroom from teachers that have misinformation and are not able to, I don't understand how, if it's a big job we have to do to get into the schools. And I am willing to do it, and probably everybody on this panel is as well. And we know we are. We have made inroads, and it's really exciting. I know in Brescia in London, right? Dr. June Matthews, she teaches a dietitian or nutritionist, I guess is what their title is, and actually brings farms into the classroom to talk to the dietitians, because if they're able, and teaches critical thinking so much. And that is, if we can teach that in the schools, I think we would be able to understand that there's jobs everywhere that they can think about. That's my big plug there. But I do think, like, and I do want to give a big plug to June, because I think she's helped our industry to get to the bottom line, because the nutritionists are going to be talking to people about their health. And that's what everybody on this panel is producing, is healthy nutrition food for our population.
For sure. So it's interesting. So there's organizations out there that are doing this. We need to look to collaborate and have a stronger voice by working together, I think is what I'm hearing. I think having a connection with those high schools, the guidance counselors, that then are highlighting those skills of interest to be able to connect that individual with the job opportunities that are out there. And something struck me that you said, Julie, around the skilled trades. So often, as both Jodi and yourself mentioned, these roles are invaluable. They aren't always put on the pedestal that they need to be. We get it in our argument about what to call people, as opposed to just showing the value in the role itself. So I just think that that's interesting, because I'm sure Christine, Teresa, you'd agree with some of those aspects just with your jobs and the people you work with on a daily basis. So this is crazy. Our time is going by. I have so many more questions to ask each of you. So I'm going to have to really hone in on the top ones, and I'll go back to our question and answer area. We want to go back to some real things on how you distinguish between employee contributions and luck, which I'm not totally sure on that question, but I think maybe how we'll expand it is, how are there ways that you can reward and recognize your team members? What are some ideas that people can, take from this conversation today?
I'll try to be quick about this. One way that we've always believed in and have recently started doing pretty concretely is profit sharing. So, I mean, culture's great, recognition is great, potlucks are great, but really, why do we go to work? We need that financial benefit. So we believe in kind of sharing the profits when the profits are good, but I mean, you can't guarantee that every month. So we have a system that we used to do it annually, and we've just started doing it monthly so that we can keep more on top of it, where we are really open with the income of the company, and it's calculated by profit per square meter of greenhouse space. And anytime that we get over a certain threshold, a portion of that is shared with the employees. And then we're only in month, I think, 2 of this monthly one. So it's early days on seeing how successful that is. But I think that that's going to be really great when people can see, yes, last month we did all these things and it was a really profitable month. And then this month it was a little bit emptier. We maybe weren't as efficient and we didn't see that return. So they have a lot of the knowledge of the background stuff happening in a business. And sometimes I think, especially as producers, we don't like to share that information. That's private family information.
Sure.
It's hard for me to kind of work through that, but I see the value in it now. And people, I think it's been really helpful for us as an addition to the culture and all the other things that we're doing is having them share in that, because I mean, like, really, when it comes down to it, that's the bottom line. That's why people are at work.
Okay, those are great examples. Christine, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think for us, like, especially maybe on the sales side or things like that, just a lot of acknowledgement goes a long way. Like, a little acknowledgement goes a long way. When somebody meets their goals or, does something to benefit the company, just taking the time to make a phone call and talk through that and just, highlight how great that was. And I think that goes a long way.
Okay, great. Julie,
I'll
Teresa,
add on
anything
to that.
add to that?
Yeah, I agree with that. We have the same sort of similar process. We try to be transparent with what our goals are, yearly, quarterly, monthly, and depending on the different areas. But for us, it's really trying to figure out what is of value to that associate. If we're giving you a recognition program that you don't care about, then that's not really going to be motivating. So we are constantly trying to solicit feedback from our associates. What sorts of things would you like to see? I mean, compensation is one piece of it, but we add on to, anniversaries. We give, recognitions for anniversaries. We get recognition for safety. We give recognition. We allow our associates to shout out other associates for providing help with them to encourage teamwork, right? So being able to, it's got to be well-rounded. It can't always just be compensation, which, don't get me wrong, definitely important to incentivize. You also have to make sure you're incentivizing the right behavior rather than, like, it's got to be a value and something that I can actually affect. If you give me an incentive over something I have no control over, it's not really motivating for me. I'm not going to work very hard at it because I have no control over it. So making sure that we are understanding what's of value to people, keep listening. We used to have a gift program where you could pick a gift off this website, and got the feedback eventually, these gifts are of no use to me. I don't need a coffee maker. I don't need this. I don't need that. Okay, well, well, in these tough times, we need cash. Okay, let's do gift cards. So now we're giving gift cards, or you get the option to go pick a gift card for any place you want, really listening to what people want, and then they're loving it. They like it. And when that's not working anymore, we're going to change it, right?
Okay.
All about what they want. And the thank you and the appreciation and understanding everybody in our company understands how they directly affect the bottom line of the business. So they know
Right.
and they take pride in that. They work hard for it. When you include them in those things, it's an incredible motivator.
So understanding their value and how
Absolutely.
they contribute. Okay.
Whether you're a salesperson, which might be the most obvious thing, to the warehouse staff, to the inventory control. If you ask any of them, how do you impact the business directly? How do you impact the customer? They know.
Okay. No, those are all great examples. I think for essence of time, Teresa, I'm sure you've got good things, but I'm going to skip to the next question if that's all right.
Sorry.
We've had a question come in, and it's not necessarily related to attracting people to the food and agriculture industry, but I think they would like to know how each of you handle stress in the terms of some of the times when we do have bottlenecks in our industry, whether that be finding staff, whether that be just, you know, situational changes as we're working through the times of not having the crystal ball. So how do each of you handle stress, and what advice would you give to other individuals that are similar to your roles? Don't everybody jump at once.
I can start. A few things I've found really helpful. Some advice I was given was try not to live more than one day at a time. So just keeping things in the moment and not getting too hung up on things down the line. That's really helped me stay grounded. The other thing is I actually have recently been utilizing a coach. So I have sort of, you know, somebody to talk to, and I guess they're called a leadership coach, but it could be anybody. It could be a counselor, it could be whoever, somebody to talk through scenarios with, and to just get sort of that third party perspective, somebody that has nothing to do with this place at all, that can be very just objective about it. So I found that really helpful as well. And just to remember, like, my personality really contributes to this, but I tend to take everything super personally. So that would be a huge stressor to me, because if somebody was really angry, I'd be like, oh man, like they hate me. So just trying to make sure that I keep that very separate. That has helped my stress level a lot.
Great points.
Yeah, a lot of what Christina said, that's really sound advice. I can't say that I'm an expert in handling stress. It kind of owns me a little bit. And for me, it's been more about managing the sources of the stress rather than the stress itself. I mean, if it's COVID, you can't really do anything about it, but there are definitely things you can build into your day and into your life to manage the source of the stress. If that's, you know, starting up a business and having lots of small kids, we have 5 small children that are kind of the similar ages to our business. So it's been a fairly stressful, you know, half decade for me, but making sure that you hire the right people. And speaking as an owner here, and I have the ability to do that, hire the right people and then delegate the things that you have. I think I referred to myself earlier as a master delegator. I didn't used to be. I liked, you know, I wanted everything done this way. And in early days, it was kind of, you have to do that with a business. But I mean, as soon as it is reasonably possible, you need to, you know, do something about that source of stress and be smart about it. Don't just keep muddling your way through. It's not healthy, and it's not going to be good for you or your family or your job.
I'm digesting all these good pieces of advice. Julie, how about yourself?
So, I mean, it's been a bit of an adjustment for me. I mean, I used to always fancy myself somebody who thought, okay, if I could work from home, how great would that be?
Right.
Have a commute that went from my bedroom to my desk. That would be fantastic. And then that reality hit. And it was actually surprisingly not what I thought it would be, working from home. And I know that a lot of our associates have felt this way. Some people are loving it, but it's not for everybody. So being aware of this, I'm a social person. I feel connected when I'm in the office. You know, you're feeling the mood, the culture, you get to chat with people, you know what's going on. It's very isolated when you're working from home. So remembering that and staying connected to associates and giving an opportunity for people to be able to voice that and say, I'm struggling working from home. I feel isolated. Like for the first couple of weeks, I was kind of like, wow, I feel like this is not for me. I want to go back to work. I want to go back to the office. I never thought I'd say it. I mean, you really have to find a balance and find a way to structure your day so that you keep that, because for me, it's routine. I don't get up and go to work and shower and everything anymore. And being able to reach out to our associates. So we tried to create some online social groups so people could come and, you know, share recipes, or let's talk about your pets, or, hey, what DIY projects are you doing at home? Just to keep everybody kind of connected, I feel goes a long way. I mean, it's really important. They're saying now with mental health during this crisis is a big focus. It's a real big focus.
Okay,
And
those are all good points of advice of how do you have connectedness with your team, even though we're in such a remote setting for some. Teresa,
Yeah.
how about yourself? You're probably a bit different too. So let's share your perspective here.
So I could do the off cuff thing, and fermented grapes helps a lot in my case.
oh, I was going to say that. I thought that would be.
It's okay. We're
Absolutely.
just having a conversation, remember?
Yeah, no kidding. I'm totally what Christine said, is talking to someone outside of ag. Someone that just listens to you, like, because it's hard not to judge within your own industry, because you've got all the, and especially when you're working with family, that's a wee bit challenging too. But I find I've got a number of key people I will actually phone up and say, you're not going to believe what happened today, and just let it all out. And then you just, they understand, and they're not going to support you in if you're being goofy about it. Like, they will be honest with you. You need to find that coach, that psychologist, that friend, whatever, and recognize that there is a lot of mental health things happening right now. Like with Jodi and myself and all of us, I guess we are essential services. So we've never stopped. It actually got busier on our farm, and with the store and all this sort of stuff, it kind of, my life got ramped up a lot. And yeah, just having that time to talk, and then being able to not take it personally and leave the situation and be okay with that. That's a really hard thing to walk away sometimes, but that's my my thing. I'm really trying hard to say, okay, I still love you, but right now I've got to walk away.
And I think what I'm hearing too is it's not taboo to talk about it. It's not taboo to have those moments of feeling like you're in a hamster wheel and you're not quite sure how to get out, because I think you're right. We haven't stopped in many ways, and recognizing that balance, what you said about delegating, Jodi, that's okay. You can do more through others. Julie, the one thing that you mentioned about connectiveness. So I'll use our own team as an example. We have a board on Teams that people share their fall decorations.
Yep.
We have a wellness challenge to be able to get people up and moving, because we recognize that in this online setting, we're not perhaps as physical, and we're trying to encourage that. What I have heard from our farmers down the road is that their life hasn't changed at all. That's okay too. It's recognizing, because that's their scenario, doesn't make each other any worse or better. It is what it is. So I think not comparing to others is probably a healthy activity to manage stress also. So in essence of time here, I've got one final question for each of you. And I truly do have about 62 other questions that I could go through, but I'm trying to, stick with what I committed to time-wise. So we've talked a lot today about the agriculture and food industries, and I think we need to think about 2021 and beyond. So what new skills do we need to make sure we are teaching in order to adapt to our changing environment and industry? So let's think about that for a second, and whomever wants to jump in first. Agriculture food is innovative. We have the latest and greatest of technology. What skills then do we need to be making sure we are teaching in order to adapt to our changing environment and industry?
Well, it's what I said before, the ability to do critical thinking. It's like all the Twitter comments and everything that's been bombarded with us, and we need to be able to take what someone says, what someone does, and to look at it and to question what's going on, and in your own head, does this make sense? And if we can have more people to think that way, They would know that they would understand everybody and be kind to everybody. I think that would be a great motivator for life and for us all to be happy in the jobs that we do end up going to.
Excellent. Yeah. I would tack on to that as well. I agree 100%. Critical thinking is so important. We've learned in our industry going through this and into the future, our number one focus is agility. I mean, being able to really pivot when you need to pivot and think quickly and react and try to prepare for the unexpected, which is very hard to do. But I feel very strongly that if you can teach some, and another big aspect is they call it emotional intelligence. Able to control your own emotions, to take a deep breath and step back. And it's a hard thing to learn. And I feel like the older you get, maybe the more that gets easier. I'm not sure. But you know, when you're entering the workforce, depending, and I think it goes across any industry, right? Being able to not get all wound up over things and being able to take a step back and look at things factually and sometimes being able to take the emotion out of it. I feel like, I don't know how you teach that, but if somebody could figure that out, that would be really beneficial in any career.
Agreed.
Okay, interesting. Jodi, Christine.
So I would second, definitely. I think the things I have noted here, you guys covered a lot of them. So I guess those are sort of the more intangible things. I guess back to what Julie said about, you know, trades. I think that we do have, I think people need to be not too afraid to get their hands dirty in their career choice. You know, we are looking for people who can problem solve, but also like fix things and get there and you know, do a hands-on job. Even we have sometimes when our accountant will jump in and help with our plant grafting because we're short on people, right? Like if you have some skills like that, you're not afraid to get in there and get your hands dirty and get some experience doing different things. That will be really valuable to your employer or on your own operation. Yeah, and I think that, not really to answer your question, sort of flipping it around, but I think though that as an industry, we need to also be better at adapting for the new type of person coming into the workforce, right? Like we see a difference in the younger people coming into the workforce. They want different things out of jobs than in the past. So I think that we as an industry can also be better at, you know, they want more information. They want us to be more open with them. So I think both those things have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Christine.
Yeah, I think everything I had written down has been pretty well covered. I think the biggest one I always come back to is adaptability as well, like the ability from all angles. And I think, yeah, if you're talking about just going ahead in terms, you know, end of 2020, 2021 in general, is just a bit of empathy for what everybody's going through. I think there needs to be some acknowledgement that we are in pretty unprecedented times and you don't know what other people are working with, things like daycare or, you know, a lot of this unpredictability. I think that's just more of a general statement than in terms of hiring. I just think that's important going ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Wow. I will reiterate again that today's session will be available because we have recorded it. So I'm sure there will be lots of people going through again because each of you have provided such valuable components from your perspective, your knowledge. And I just really want to say thank you to Teresa, Julie, Jodi, and Christine for taking the time today. You're all very busy individuals with your own responsibilities, but it provides such value to our industry, and just chatting and talking and understanding your best practices are really helpful. So thank you very much for taking the time today. And we just wanted to make sure that if you have questions about each of the panelists today, just go to their websites, check them out, obviously make connections with them. I'm sure that they'd be more than happy. Check out obviously the Roelands Farms website, as I mentioned earlier, because I think it is a really great example. We will be doing another event coming up to try to connect job seekers with careers in the agriculture and food industries. We have partnered with the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair this year, and it will be called the Rave event, the Rave Virtual Career Fair, and it's on November 10th and 12th. It's a virtual experience. And if you're looking to check out different careers that we talked about today, they will be featured at that event. And again, as I mentioned before today, this webinar and panel discussion has been made possible because of the Canadian Agriculture Partnership Funding, OFA, agcareers.com and careersandfood.com. So you can go there to check out lots of jobs that are listed. And we're just coming together to support our agriculture and food system from field to fork, and really a collaborating approach to be able to take all of the knowledge of these individuals on the panel today and connect them with the career and job opportunities that are waiting to be filled. So if you have any questions, this is a way to reach out to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And we really thank our partners for making this possible today. So thank you to each of you. And I'm sure we will be in touch.